This show is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find the other great shows on the network, head over to the deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Bev's Video Kingdom is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Fight Club Soap. If your brand new job makes you smell like shit, you got a dirty butt crack or stinky pits. If you got sweaty balls or big bitch tits, you need Fight Club Soap. Puked on yourself cause you got sick, or if you need to wash your porn star dick, we suck up from the asses of big rich chicks, you need Fight Club Soap. It'll clean you up, slick as a whistle, head to toe, ass to love missile. It's guaranteed to get an asshole clean. When you're home from the bar with the local slut and it smells kind of fishy in her front butt, just use our soap, I'll tell you what you need. Fight Club Soap.
Bro.
Love missile.
That was some fucking serious John Prine shit. Like, I think John Prine has written like that was fucking amazing.
Oh, that twang. Love
soap.
That twang.
I had a little Kim Carnes in there too, a little razzle.
Oh yeah.
Dude. That was legitimate.
Start this thing.
What is up, Bev's Video Kingdom?
What up, dude?
How's everybody doing this evening?
I don't know. I keep trying to fuck up our intros.
Dude. Bro, Brad counts it down. 3, 2, 1. He just stares into our eyes. Like, what are you guys doing? Push the button, Brad.
That's 2 in a row. Last week it was an absolute train wreck, and I just about shit the bed.
I'm glad you left
you
that
left
in, though.
it in, though. That was perfect, dude. I
Proud of
appreciate
you, buddy.
that.
You guys told me to.
Big braid on Brad.
You told me to, so I had to.
Why is the A button blinking? What's happening there?
It's just gonna play out the rest of Scotch's amazing little like
Ditty? The ditty?
There's a
little solo
long
at the
guitar
end.
solo at the end of that.
Outro.
That I tried
if you never listen to the end of the episode, if you always shut it off after you hear our voices leave, you got to listen to that little train wreck of a solo at the end. It's pretty awesome.
Thanks.
I resent
Train
that.
wreck of a solo. I mean, was that a compliment? I don't know.
Doesn't it end with? Isn't that what it's called? At the end, it's a train wreck where it all kind of and like everything kind of falls apart.
It does actually.
It falls apart on purse, though.
Right, it's purposeful. I didn't say. I wasn't trying to say that he.
I thought you meant the whole solo was a train wreck.
It's fucking
I
anarchy.
wouldn't be that mean to you, Jesus.
So we are here.
What day is it?
It is
Valentine's
February
Day.
14th.
Is it Valentine's
Every
Day?
day the
Valentine's Day. We're
14th.
feeling hella romantical in here.
Caroline. You guys know the Outcast
yeah.
song?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, I played that for my kids the other day. They were like, whoa.
Chase the raisin for the word, bitch.
Oh, come on, Brad. I was going to bleep that out, dude. This is a fucking family podcast.
Okay.
It's a Valentine's show.
This is the Valentine show.
We talked about doing something romantic, and then we were like, what's
did.
more romantic? than
It
Fight
fell
Club?
apart pretty quickly.
And none of you guys took me up on my offer of let's actually record on Valentine's Day and then see who survives the fights.
That's
And then
true.
Scott's suggestion of recording on Valentine's Day gave us all the epiphany. Hey, maybe we should do Fight Club for the
There you
movie
go.
on Valentine's Day.
Boom.
I mean,
It is a love story.
If we were gonna do a Fight Club with the 5, well, I guess we already asked this question to Prison Mike already. We were like, hey, if out of us,
But this was pricky. I don't think he rated Scotch.
Oh, he didn't. He probably would have given Scott a high rating. I think it had a lot to do with BMI, and they were just like, he's just like, the bigger you are, the better you are at fighting. This is gonna come up in our draft lately. This
So
is gonna
to be
come up in our
clear,
draft
he's
lately.
referencing the Shawshank episode
Yeah.
where our guest Mike, who had spent some time in prison, broke down who would do the best of the 4Bevs guys in prison.
Yeah.
When he told me that I'm the squarest guy that he's ever met. And
I was like, oh, total square.
Yeah.
Total square.
I think he actually then turned to Brad and was like,
Oh, no,
this
he-
guy too.
Yeah, no, he hit me first and then like swung around to you. He was just like, both of us are out instantly. I was like, damn.
Brad was like fucking waving his braids around like, don't you see these fucking braids? How can I be square?
I was cracking my knuckles into the till. I was like, what the fuck?
Okay, so as alluded, we are doing the 1999 rated R movie Fight Club.
Yeah. But
So when Fight Club came out in 1999, I was like a junior in high school, maybe a sophomore in high school. God, dude, this was like a really big movie for me. It was one of the first ones where I went and saw it, and just the music and editing and just the way that it was put together really floored me. Floored me so much that I don't think I had read the book before, and then I went immediately and read the book. This is one of the few where people will say that if you have read the book, maybe you could speak on this. But if you haven't, a lot of people will say that this is one of the few where the twist is better. By the way, we're going to spoil the fuck out of this. So if you haven't
seen Fight Club, shut this off. Immediately go watch it, because where have you been?
it's definitely worth the watch going in pretty blind. So don't
100%.
fucking listen. But I am so sorry that my phone is dinging. Does that mean I have to take a shot? What was that show we did where you have to take a fucking
Barrel Age.
Barrel Age Flicks. We were recently on there. Thank you guys so much for having us on. And yeah, I think we were on for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I think their host Ron took 4 shots just while we were on the air.
Everclear, some watermelon gin,
Everclear? I didn't
Yeah,
notice
he did a shot
that.
of Everclear
That's
and
still around.
2 peanut butter whiskeys, the old screwball, peanut butter whiskey.
as punishment shots. So yeah.
So anyway,
And he had to do like 2 episodes or something after that. So,
Right.
Yeah, he started off strong.
good thing he was already at home, I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
So anyways, back
Wait, but speaking of Barrel Age Flicks, we are on the Deluxe
fuck,
Edition
hey,
Network.
who wants to talk about Fight Club? What do you got about the network?
We are on Deluxe Edition Network, Dun Network, as we like to call it here, and nobody likes it when we do that. But we do it anyway.
We're doing a rebranding.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we were recently on with Barrel Age Flicks, which was great. We had a lot of fun. So check out their podcast and look for our episode. It was a tasting room episode, they call it. We did the top 5 movie quotes of all time. And so we each picked some pretty great quotes. I was actually recently on another podcast with our friend Matt Marlowe on the Real Drunks, and we were discussed the movie Great White Hype. I almost forgot the movie that I suggested.
It was a good episode. I really liked it.
But,
it was a lot of fun.
yeah,
It was
so-
your pick and you forgot what it was? I love that.
I'm drinking already. And pods of the month on the network are Spoil My Movie and World's True Crime. We got a lot of great new podcasts, so just check them all out and give us some support. It's like support your small business Saturday, but it's
Support
Tuesday.
your small pod.
Yeah, dude, our buddy Matty Marlowe in a little group chat with some of the Deluxe Edition pods, the Deluxe Edition Network Deluxe Edition is trying to do a little awards show in Matty Marlowe. They were suggesting Denny's, and they're like, oh, I don't know if we're going to get sued or something. And Matt Marlowe came through and he's like, well, how about they do the Network Awards? I thought that was pretty
I
great.
dig it. I get it.
So, all right, let's talk about Fight Club.
So,
No, oh shit, we're
Wait,
not
you're not
supposed
supposed to talk about Fight Club.
Damn it! All right, this pod's over.
Broke both of the first 2
oh,
rules.
damn, that's actually really smart. We should start over and fucking pretend like we came up with that before we started and just be like, we would tell you about the movie, but we're not supposed to talk about it. That's fucking great. I'm sure no one's done that
It's
before.
good pod.
Yeah.
All right.
Original content.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, we're the first podcast ever to do Fight Club.
So I loved the movie.
I checked.
I loved the movie. I was floored when I fucking watched it. And I remember going home and like being really, really, really thinking it was really cool. I mean, this is the kind of the quintessential, like, kind of angsty young man movie. And I really want to dig
I
into
think it's
some
a
of that.
funny take because
I think- no, I really- no.
I want to riff on that.
Because as you watch it as a grown man, it starts to lose some of that
Oh, see, I was
some of
gonna
that
say, I think it's
luster to
an
me.
I think it's an angsty grown man movie.
Oh, see, I disagree. But
Interesting.
I think watching it as a young man, you're like, yeah, fuck capitalism and fuck being a consumer, and you start to like kind of get into that. But anyways, I then read the book, Chuck Palahniuk's book that this is based on, and then subsequently read a whole bunch of his books. So this is one of the few where people will say that the twist actually works better in the movie than the book. There's something about the visual of it and the way that they can kind of go back and kind of show you those visuals that sort of makes it work better than it does on the page. Although the book is great, and you guys should definitely read it and read a lot of his stuff. There's a lot of recurring themes in a bunch of his books, like kind of anarchy and a lot of really cool, a lot of really interesting themes. I won't say cool, a lot of interesting themes.
Well, did you see how he said that his idea for Fight Club was after a camping trip where he went to go tell some folks to turn down their music, and it turned into a fist fight, and he got like beat up. And he says on Monday at work, like he had like a cut on his cheek and stuff, and was kind of like definitely like looked like he got in a fight. And he said nobody said shit to him.
Yep.
They wouldn't like acknowledge the fact that like, hey, what happened to you? He's
Right.
like, people don't want to know like your dark side or anything. So that kind of like started planting the seed of him getting into the book. So I thought that was fucking cool.
That's neat.
Which sort of goes along with one of my favorite parts of the movie is when Tyler tells the whole crew to go get in a fight and lose. And he's like, this is
great.
much easier said than done. It's like, most people will do anything they can to avoid that conflict.
Right.
But anyways, so I'm curious, before we get too like steep on it, I'm curious when you guys first saw this movie, what your thoughts were then, what your thoughts were now. Because I just finished watching it. Like Nate picked me up to come down here, and I had just finished watching it for the umpteenth time. I own it on DVD, and I actually dug up the DVD and watched it. I love this movie. I'm curious your guys' thoughts.
So for me, I was a junior in college. I was living in Stockton, and my roommate and I had just got an apartment together that fall. And his girlfriend basically lived with us. Like it ends up being his future wife, but she kind of lived with us. So
She was your Marla.
she was our Marla. Not completely, but But yeah, so one night we're just all kind of bored, and I was like, "You guys, this movie just came out. I really want to see it. Do you guys want to go see like maybe a little bit interesting movie?" And they're like, we got nothing better to do. Let's go. So we went to the Holiday Cinema in Stockton and went and watched Fight Club. And not a lot of people in the theater. I remember it wasn't a whole lot of folks. And I hadn't heard much about it. I just knew that I think I'm going to dig this. Like this looks like a little bit crazier and weird. And so it starts playing, and we're watching it. And I'm super into it. Yeah. I lose just all focus. I don't even know if they were watching. They might have been making out. I have no clue.
Let me stop you. As soon as the intro started, I turned to Lisa and I go, "This is a Brad movie." But keep going.
So I get all fired up, and then all of a sudden, when they get to that last scene, and all of a sudden, Where's My Mind comes in, and the Pixies. I was listening to the Pixies. I bought it like the year before, like their greatest hits at the bookstore, and I was super listening to them a bunch, and that was definitely my favorite song. And all of a sudden that comes in, I was just like, oh my God, this movie was made for me. Like I couldn't believe it. And so we go out to the car. I'm just fired up. I'm like, oh dude, I got to come watch this again sometime soon. I'm like, what'd you guys think? They're like, what the fuck did you bring us to, Brad? It was just one of those classic Brad moments where I think everybody's going to just think exactly like, oh, they're going to think this is so great. And they were just like, that was the shittiest weird movie I've ever seen.
The irony, though, is that that's the exception that proves the rule, because they were the ones that were wrong in that case, where most of the time it's you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Yeah, they were not Fight Club's target audience.
Dude,
that's for sure.
I don't know how there's not a target audience for this movie.
Is it the best Pixies song?
At that time, it was my favorite Pixie song. I would say
at that time it wasn't what it is because of Fight Club. So you probably don't like it as much now because it got big from Fight Club.
Yes. It's definitely that type of thing. It's just kind of like, no, it's still a great song. I mean, it's a magical song forever and ever.
But the masses took it from him.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, damn it, now everybody knows.
I can't like it.
Shit.
Have you heard Where's My Mind? Yes.
But yeah, as soon as it came out on DVD, I bought it, and I was trying to show people it constantly. I was like, you got to watch this movie. It's fucking crazy. And mixed reviews. Definitely mixed reviews.
Interesting.
So I think I've told this story probably 12 times on the pod, and fuck you, I'm telling it again. So I watched this when I guess I would have been, I think it was a sophomore or junior in college, but my cousin Jeremy, who was on the Children of Men pod, judged the bank robbers draft. So he and I grew up. We're pretty close in age, and we grew up like sharing a serious love of movies. He was a much more like he's a real cinephile and like took a lot of film classes and was in the film industry for a minute.
You can hear this story on the Greatest Hits pod.
Okay, good. So
No, it's not on the Greatest Hits. Okay.
He doesn't know that.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, great. Go listen to it. It's probably, I'm serious. I might have told.
No, you
6
told the
times.
story once, and it's a good story.
But
so
at
keep
least
going.
so Jeremy lives in this like crappy basement, and we're both totally broke, and we're driving around his like not cool old Mercedes that like barely runs, and so we're kind of like having all the adventures on $5 in Hollywood, and so he tells me, and I don't even know anything about it. Like I might have seen an ad or something, and I know Brad Pitt, but he's like, there's this big movie coming out. I'm really excited about it. He's more dialed in than me. So we go to the Cinerama Dome, which looks like the top half of a golf ball on Sunset. Mm-hmm. Now this is just a giant theater, right? It's like 1,000-person theater. Yeah. I think it's like going to a premiere. So I'm sure I'm like, fucking is Pitt here? Like
people are going to see
in hindsight, it's like a kitschy, shitty, like just giant theater. But for me, I'm like, dude, we're on Sunset. This has got to be the premiere, right? Like this is where they're doing it.
We're in LA.
In LA.
Watch a movie.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm definitely sure that I'm at the premiere. And so there's 1,000 people. We crowd in here. And it's pretty full. Like this is not a
because it was like an opening night type deal.
It was like opening night, and it was like it was a big deal.
So to be fair, there was an energy in the
there
theater.
was an energy.
Yes.
So, but I don't know what I'm walking into. Like I don't. This is not And so we sit there and this movie opens, and I still remember sitting there as the like credits rolled and just like having almost like an out of body. Like I'm like, this is surreal.
Yep.
Like. It was such a profound experience because I don't think I'd seen very many movies like that, right? Like I saw a ton of movies, but for one thing, there weren't very many movies like that, right? Like not very many mainstream movies that had that kind of mix of like real misanthropic, but kind of comedy, big stars, really kind of interesting, visual choices and sort of just like everything together, right? In some ways, Fight Club is a little bit of a it's not truly unique, but I mean, for truly big mainstream stuff, it was new.
I think so. I think that's fair to say.
And definitely for me, right, in the types of movies I gravitated to. So like, I loved it. Like everything worked for me. And even though maybe it was made for Brad, dude, it fired for me on all cylinders. And I would say that as I've gotten older, I haven't seen it very many times since. And I think partly it's because I don't want to like, in any way degrade the like specialness of that experience. It's my most memorable movie watching experience in the theater for sure. And so I haven't like returned to it a lot. And when I returned to it this time, I think one of the things that I probably wouldn't have put words to at the time that resonates is like, it's a very philosophical movie.
100%.
And I think even beyond like some of the relatability that I often see in movies, it's like, I really love the kind of like, I'm a big fan of like old political philosophy. And so it has some of this like Hobbesian, kind of like state of nature stuff that I think is cool. So I love it. It's absolutely holds up. It's great.
Yeah, I'm not that smart. So you guys all kind of were surprised by this movie in a way, like you didn't know what you're getting into when
I didn't know the twists,
but
it floored me.
But
for sure.
But like it sounds like Brad, like you had no idea really what was going. You knew it was just kind of interesting, but you didn't know much about it. Or whatever.
I remember seeing like a commercial or a trailer for it, and it was just like it looks like kind of wild. And I knew of Fincher from Seven,
right?
And so I was like, okay, well, Fincher's fucking cool.
Yeah.
So it was basically like all I knew.
So
plot wise, I knew nothing.
Right. So weirdly, I had this movie really overhyped by friends. So I never saw it in the theater. I didn't really hear about it because I was thinking back, well, why? How come I didn't know? Because I loved Seven. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. And I was in my last year of college. And so I was just nothing but school, stressed out, trying to get the hell out of there. It was my 7th year of college. I'm not a doctor, but I switched my majors, so fuck off. But
I was just thinking about. I was in my junior year of college. I'm like, wait, Scotch, what are you doing?
I really liked college.
Did I hear a niner in there?
So obviously it was just completely off my radar in that last year of school, and so I didn't see it until video, or DVD. It was DVD back then, I think, and so. And I know Matt Brown and a bunch of other guys loved it. They were all about it. And they're just telling me about it. And I probably heard a bunch of the lines. I don't think I had shit spoiled. I don't remember that. But I also went into it, and I have this weird, stupid thing where I don't really like things that everybody else likes. So I kind of had this negative thing. And Zach's nodding because he has that too. We've talked about that before with music, especially. And like I hated Pearl Jam for like 20 years. And now I finally accepted that they're good. And so, but my biggest thing is I don't like to get in trouble in real life. And so this anarchy and all these guys doing all this nasty shit doesn't resonate with me because I'm sitting going, God, you guys are dicks. You know, you're fucking coming in the soup,
The chowder?
in the chowder, and pissing in the bisque and all this shit. And I just don't think that I liked that. But obviously I'm wrong because fucking according to Google users, 92% of them like this movie. And, you know, the Rotten Tomatoes is 79%. It's like, but I like the movie. I watched it a bunch of times, but I don't love it. And I just kind of say,
So here's my question. But is part of the fantasy not just doing the thing, but being okay with doing the thing, right? I mean, for me, right, that's what I read. Part of what I read from it is, I think most people are not comfortable going around and like, you know, shitting in the pasta. Or like,
I hope most people aren't cool with that.
Well, you've never worked at Taco Bell, but
you got to remember, they're not doing that. They're only doing that to this really fancy schmancy, like rich hotel. It's not like they're doing it at some like Denny's or some shit.
Right.
They're doing it to people
Against
they
the establishment.
think deserve it.
Right.
But I mean, in any case, right, whatever your aversion to the sort of getting in trouble or doing the anti, like, I think that's got to be part. I mean, part of the fantasy is not doing the thing, right? Because I mean, most people don't do the thing, not even because they don't want to like get arrested. They don't do the thing because they don't feel comfortable, right? Like they're just for whatever set of reasons because, you know, they feel bad or whatever, but it's clearly like, you know, they're trying to strip this away in some way.
I honestly wish I could go back in time and watch it again for the first time with a clear brain and without, because like watching it again today, it's like, I mean, I've caught pieces of it over the years, you know, off and on. I know the twists. I know what happens. And it kind of like this, I literally just didn't like this watch through at all because I was like, fuck, I've seen this movie too many times.
But what you're saying and what Nate's saying is kind of the philosophical, like, kind of bones of the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to, society has brought you and indoctrinated everyone to think you don't come in the chowder. You don't fucking do all of these things, and you have to buy this stuff to be successful and all these different things. And then when you have someone like Tyler Durden come into your life and fucking, you know, force you to let go with the whole fucking chemical burn deal, and freaking you have to be able to like separate yourself from society in some way, and then you can truly, you know, say fuck you or whatever.
Right.
And, well, this is part a little bit why your take was like, this is sort of, there's parts of this that are appealing to this sort of angsty young man. I mean, at least speaking for myself, right? One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn, and I think not everyone's this way at all, but one of my hardest lessons, and that took me the longest to learn, was to try not to worry at all about what people think, right? Like that's a lesson that for many people, it comes on slowly, if it ever comes on at all, is to like divorce yourself from behaving to try to satisfy either what people actually say or what you just perceive that they're going to think of you.
Perceive. Exactly.
And so like there's a sense in which like this movie is speaking to the fantasy of the person who realizes that eventually and wishes that they could have, you know, either they're still in the process of that or they wish they had figured that out earlier, right? And it's kind of the extreme version of it, right? But it's teaching them all to be like, fuck it, I'm going to go to work with scars. I don't give a shit what they think about me.
I was just telling Maddie Marlowe on the way over here about like my most hated job. I worked for this financial company right out of college. It was my first actual like job. And I despised my boss so badly. And I legit would have pissed in his coffee if I didn't realize that everybody else in like the office drank coffee too. But like, it's like I had that type of vitriol for him. Like I wanted to do some shady, mean shit to him because fuck that guy.
He was your Lundberg.
Just on. I was telling Maddie he yelled at me on 9/11 because I was 20 minutes late, and I was like,
"Wow!"
I would drive from Stockton to Modesto for this job, and I was 20 minutes late, and he yelled at me like, I come in the door like, "Frank, why are you late?" I'm like, some real shit was going on TV, and I was trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, and he was just like an asshole about it. And like we sat there in the office and did nothing that day. We just like
because all the
listened to
financial
radio.
institutions were closed around the
Yeah,
world.
like I'm gonna sit there, call somebody on 9/11. Hey, you owe us some late fees. Blah blah blah. Come pay that shit. Like we weren't doing that. And he yelled at me. And like from that moment, I was just like, "Fuck you forever."
Right.
I'll go pop your tires, motherfucker. I mean, that was because we had.
I still remember how much you hated that job, man. You took pride in the hate toward the end of that.
100%. And part of it though was like I did have a little part inside of me because like we had in my town where we grew up in like my little neighborhood, we kind of had our own little like Project Mayhem kind of going on. We did some stupid shit a lot of times, like really on borderline destructive, which was I look back now, I'm like, God, I was a fucking little asshole. I mean, it put me in the back of a police car at age 12. So it's like shit like that is just, we were doing stupid stuff. And it was just kind of like, fuck you attitude. Like we were just kind of almost like feral children for a second. Like, I don't know.
And I was literally the kid that was still hanging out in the car while everybody else was toilet papering because I didn't want to get caught. Explains a lot about me.
We went a little beyond toilet papering a few times.
I'm sure.
So can we talk about the main content here though? Like let's get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
So
What's up with the fighting?
It's sort of a metaphor for being able to let go, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I want to let's not be abstract about this for a minute. Like,
You want to literally talk about the fighting? Okay,
I guess I'm just saying like they choose this as this like centerpiece, and it's not just because it's like a good metaphor. I think, right? Like, I think there's something real about the like very fucking visceral desire of of most men, right? Of many men, maybe many men, to like be physically combative.
So
right?
what they take out of it is the sort of the primal animalistic urge to fight in order to mate, right? So there's like, although he has this relationship with Marla, they sort of take that out of it for all of these men. Like it's not like there's a bunch of chicks or like hangers on around the camp where they're all hanging out at the house. You know what I mean? And Marla's the only girl there. So like you're sort of led to believe that maybe, Tyler or Edward Norton or Brad Pitt's character or whoever is like has his chick there, but no other chicks allowed because he wants everybody to focus on the mission, right? So if you think about it as like if they were going for like this sort of animalistic urge to battle or to fight, like the reason that is done with it, you look at like any animal, right? The males are going to fight in order to, the winner is the one that's going to fuck all the chicks. But in this, you take that away, and so it kind of takes away the to me it kind of strips it of the point, and then at that point it's just you're just fighting to fucking feel manly, I guess. I don't understand.
I think they're fighting to kind of be like above all the fucking people that they work for. They're basically like, we have something, a bond between us that you do not have and you'll never have because you're scared, you're cowardly, and even though you might be making more money than me and you might be my boss or whatever, but fuck you, I could take you out back and beat the shit out of you.
But they don't, right? Because they're on the bus and that guy comes and shoulder checks Norton and Norton does nothing.
See, I think it's
but then he's fighting that guy at the Fight Club.
I couldn't disagree more with that take though, Brad, because like it's all about like it's like in the fights, the way that it works, it's like you're not testing yourself by trying to win. It's like in the early fights, right? It's all about like wanting to like get your ass kicked, right? I mean, wanting to fight and like not necessarily be submissive in that way, but like none of the guys come out of the fight like cheering that they won, right?
No.
And in fact, you get the sense in the basement, right, that like it's irrelevant in some way who wins the fight to either party, and like they kind of leave there like happy for a good fight. Like it almost reminds you of kind of like MMA stuff, except without caring about the fight, because those guys at the end are like, "That's a fucking great fight."
Well, no, I didn't say that they care about winning. Like they're sharpening each other. They're just basically like making each other so that basically they come out with their confidence of like, you can do whatever the fuck you want as a rich person or as an elite person or whatever, but at the end of the day, there's some grass outside, and I can take you out there and beat the snot out of you if I wanted to.
I think
it's like a confidence and like a domineering attitude.
I think I can meet you halfway there. I guess the only like exception I'd say though is you never see them like pull that shit in the world, right? Like none of them ever like
They're not punking people.
they never punk anybody. They never like act in that way
because it's their thing. It's like it's their club. It's
but I'm just
it's not for everybody.
But I'm just saying if it was about taking that like confidence out and kind of like rearing your fucking
They
head
would be
about
going up to rich dudes and fucking
being like
fucking them up.
staring
You know
them
what I
in the
mean?
eye.
Like I'm gonna
You know,
fuck
being
you
like-
up.
but they don't need to. They get
Yeah,
it out in the fight, and that's them proving it to themselves. That's all they need to prove it.
So that's exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's right, and that's why I say. I mean, I think it does give them a certain measure of confidence. It's just like they don't swing it around, but though, you know.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're going out to like fight people. I think they're just basically like, I can now just be happy with who I am because I know deep inside that if it comes down to it, I'm fucking all these people up.
or at least I'm willing to take a punch, right? I mean, part of it for me is like
taking the punch.
I'm not
huge.
afraid to fight, right?
I think
It's not even whether I'm gonna
It's
win.
less being confident in being able to fuck anybody up. It's more just the catharsis of getting beat up.
Yeah,
I think it's more like just like he likes. It starts out when he starts going to the meetings with the guys with testicular cancer and tuberculosis and all of that stuff, and he doesn't have that, but he needs that kind of catharsis of the crying. That's why Marla ruins it for him, because when she shows up, he can't cry anymore because he knows he's a fucking fraud. When she's not there, he's able to fucking trick himself into thinking that, you know what I mean? Oh, I'm with these guys. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, there's a ton of different ways to look at it. I guess I always expect, like, when I watched it today, especially the scene on the bus, there's two things that happen in that scene. One, Norton points to the fucking underwear models on the thing and says, "Is that what masculinity looks like?" And
By the
he
way,
says,
that guy has an IMDb credit. I was
really?
scrolling through, and it says Gucci underwear model.
there you go. And he says, "Is that what masculinity looks like?" And then the guy's like super ripped, and he's like, you know, fucking self. What does he say? Self betterment is masturbation or something like that. And then it immediately cuts to the next scene where Brad Pitt looks like the absolute most cut, best looking dude
Yeah.
on the
I
fucking
haven't.
planet.
I'll have to come up with a new body bag because my body bag says when the Tylers look at the Gucci ad and make fun of it, and then later Brad Pitt looks exactly like the ad.
Exactly. I think that's kind of hilarious, but purposeful, right? Because if it actually ruins it a little bit that Norton is so cut too, because it's almost perfect because you don't know that Pitt is him. Right, or Pitt is his projection of himself.
Right.
So it's perfect that he like sees this thing that he wants to look like, and then Pitt looks like that. But anyways, and then the other thing is, like we were talking about, that guy comes and elbows him super hard on the bus, and it doesn't even faze him at all. He's not even he doesn't have even an inkling of like, hey, watch where you're going. He's just like.
But am I
that's
wrong in
fucking
saying
nothing.
that the next fight is him fighting that guy?
Which guy? The underwear model?
No, the guy
on
that
the
shoulders him. I'm pretty sure the next fight in the club is him fighting that guy.
Oh, if it is, I missed that completely. I do not think so, but it could be. I don't think so.
I don't know. I have to go
Because so my point in thinking that it's not him, Brad, is that they're not like that. They're not the guy that shoulder checks someone on the bus.
They're not going to go recruit somebody to come to their fight club. Too.
Totally.
Well, part of it too. I mean, so this is. I want to be careful here because, like, I think making overgeneralized statements is in these areas can be sort of tricky. But I often think you run into lots of people in the world, right? And let's just talk about guys, but there's plenty of girls I'm sure that have this dynamic too. But I'll meet guys and I'll look at them and like we'll have an interaction, and I'm like, that guy never got punched in the face. Like that's one of my like. And I don't mean it like as like he's not tough. What I mean is like that guy would never interact with other people in that way if he, when he was young, at some point smarted off,
Got knocked down a peg,
just got punched. And I remember, and I say that remembering like really clear time. Like I was in 6th grade, and we were hanging out playing on like the next door neighbor's basketball court, and for no reason, I still remember like, why am I doing this? I just spit in this dude's hair. Legitimately, I'm an 11-year-old, I'm an idiot. And I spit in his hair, and he like turned around and punched me in the face. And I was like, it was like this fucking like slow-mo where I was like, oh, so you spit at somebody and they punch you in the face. Like it was like this total like, okay. Like, and and it was also fine, and we fought, and like I don't even remember who won, but it was like a fight, and it was like, but the lesson was like the very beginning of it was I was like,
Right.
I should have fully expected someone to. I mean, why would that person not punch me in the face? Right?
Did you spit anybody's hair after that?
Never again.
There you go.
I think you can even take the punch out of it and just say like that person has never had any consequences for his fucking mouth or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been any this guy's never faced any adverse consequences for the way that he's behaving.
But I actually think, I mean, I will, let me push back just a tiny bit and say like, I actually think there is something about the physical contact
Right,
because
I agree.
when you smart off to somebody, smart off enough, especially when you're young, and like, you know, you can get in trouble in a certain way for this, but like when you think that the entire interaction of the world is always going to be non-physical, like that changes the way you think you can say things, right? Like it just does. If it's a fact,
You can look at the internet nowadays, and you know, there's not a lot of reaction that's physical at all.
And people just
can
say the fucking
whatever the hell they
gnarliest
want.
shit.
People are one wild, man.
I know, man.
I still remember smarting off saying some shit in GATE class, gifted and talented education.
You were gifted.
In 6th grade, and got my and then at recess didn't even realize that what I said was extremely offensive. Looking back now, it was, and got my ass kicked by this dude Caesar on the basketball court. He just came up to me and said, "Did you say this?" And I said, "Yeah." And he kicked the shit out of me right there on the basketball court. And I realized, oh, I should think about what I say. And it still took me a few times after that.
I was gonna say I don't think it really worked.
It hasn't stuck quite yet, but it fucking helped remind me for sure.
Well, I think of like another Ed Norton character, the worm in Rounders.
I
Like,
thought of this a lot, yeah.
he continuously runs his mouth, but he gets beat up all the time. But he kind of expects it, so he knows the price he's going to pay by running his mouth, and he still does it, which always makes him an interesting character.
Right.
Worm is a guy he's like a guy that's in an abusive relationship, and that's how he thinks people love him. You know what I mean? He's like a guy that keeps coming back to get hit again and again and again. Anyways, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. I fucking really dig this movie just for the fucking pure like filmmaking of it. And that is our boy Fincher, right?
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk to him in a second. What do you guys think? Is this the best Fincher movie?
I'm gonna say no. 7 is my.
So I love 7, and I think I like it more than Fight Club, and that just kills me. But man, this one's good.
It's super good.
I'll take Fight Club. I love 7, but I absolutely think this is.
There's so many pieces of Fight Club, like from different dynamics, that I think it makes it my number one Fincher for sure.
I think this is his most influential movie.
I was just gonna say I'm actually glad that we are doing this podcast on this movie because this conversation is helping me understand the movie in a different way, and so hopefully my opinion will be.
We're gonna have you fucking ruining corporate art and fucking rappelling off buildings and
throwing elbows,
fanboy by the end.
getting in all kinds of trouble.
Are you guys familiar with this? Is just a quick tangent, and I believe it gets touched on in the book. It doesn't talk about it here, but are you guys familiar with the Anarchist Cookbook?
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
So like a lot of this shit that Durden talks about is all from the Anarchist Cookbook, and I remember getting a hold of that at some point. Are you familiar with
It's a bomb. It's a bomb making.
Exactly. It's just
guide.
one of our close friends who we all hung out with, the person who knew how to make bombs.
It tells you how to make
one of the
napalm
first things we ever downloaded on the internet was that shit.
Yeah.
We downloaded the Anarchist Cookbook.
And there's something
And you've been on the FBI watch list ever since.
I think this is like before the FBI was even watching shit on the internet. I'm pretty
There's
sure.
something about like being a 16, 17-year-old boy where you're like, fucking, this is crazy. Like, oh, you can just take this and this and this and blow something up. Like, that's fucking crazy. I remember this kid, one of my best buddies, he passed away a while back. It was really sad, but I can't believe we didn't pass away this day because he comes to me and says, I made a pipe bomb. And I said, me and your cousin, I made a pipe bomb. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, fucking, let's go. We're going to go down to the river and fucking blow this thing up. And I'm like, cool. And we go down there and this dude's trying to light it. And we're standing 15 feet away. And he comes back and he's like, I can't get the lighter to light. It's too windy. And I was like, okay. I was like, what did you put in there? What are you trying to light? He's like, oh, I got a wick that goes down in it. And then I've got the bomb part. And then I put all sorts of nails and all sorts of stuff.
Christ.
Yeah, I swear to God. I put all sorts of nails and all this shit in there. And I'm like, bro, when it blows, he's like, yeah, it's shrapnel. I'm like, we're just standing right here. So we fucking convinced him not to light it, and it never lit. But I mean, we're like seconds away from this dude lighting this thing. The wind at Fox Grove probably saved our vision at least, or fucking I'd have some cool scars.
I have a leg that was
Yeah, exactly. I'm not joking. Anyways, let's talk to this director.
Pull up a chair and grab yourself a drink. We'll hypothesize what directors think. Maybe sometimes get a guess. Makes us look good. Let's drink, laugh, and pretend we know what we're doing. Drinking with the director, brought to you by Last Call Brewing.
Gentlemen, we're gathered here today to talk about Senior David Fincher, who has made a bunch of my favorite movies. I really fucking like this guy. I think we've already done 2 Fincher movies. We haven't done 7 yet, right?
We've done Zodiac.
We did Zodiac. And
We did we do the game back on the basement tape?
We did. Okay, so we're getting there. Don't step on the game. But okay, you're right. I shouldn't have brought it up for you to say it. I knew Brad would fucking know which ones I was talking
big brain
about.
on Brad.
Okay, so before we get there, big shout out to our first and maybe not only sponsor anymore. But that was a little teaser. We'll get to that in a minute. Last Call Brewing. Our boy Walter.
Love Last Call.
And Jake and the crew, Liza, everybody out there just doing big things, as they say.
They've done BVK IPA and BVK IP, the PA, the director's cut.
Which
Word
is
on the
selling.
street is that like 2 weeks before this came out, they were already out of draft. And
Low on cans.
if you want some cans, get down there.
And shout out to our boy Joaquin, man. That dude bought some cases and he sent a picture to us on the socials showing that he had his whole back of his vehicle all loaded up with cases of BBK, and he said, I got to still go back for a couple more. And I was like, damn.
Hey, this is the kind of loyalty that we expect from our listeners and
right.
fans.
Hank has been our boy Hank, who's on Instagram, is solely posts pictures of beers.
At King of the Hoisters.
Yeah, King of the Hoisters.
You guys are going to get him more fucking followers, and then he's going to have like quadruple the
I know,
fucking
and then we're
followers.
gonna
He
make
already
him,
does.
and then we're gonna make him start advertising us like crazy.
But he did promote the BBK IPA, I think, on
Dude,
multiple pictures.
Oh no, I'm just saying, like he must have like 6 pictures of that on his Instagram now.
Well, I mean, fuck. Hank, I hope your liver's okay, bro, because you're fucking doing some
Sounds that
work,
beer.
big guy. All right, so thank you, Last Call. What are we drinking? I want to send it around the table really quick because I am drinking. You see, there's a couple of things that are great. One thing that's great is Last Call Brewing Company. The other thing that's great is BVK IPA Director's Cut. The only thing that makes it better is when it's one of Scott Beck's beers that you took out of his fridge and he paid for it, and then you get to drink it. It's fucking perfect. I fucking love it. That's what I'm drinking.
Enjoy.
Shout out to Scott Beck. Shout out to Tim Beck, my boy with the fucking with the bill. Everybody, hey, that's an inside joke, but Scott Beck, what are we drinking tonight?
So when I think about fighting, I think about what do people drink
To get it,
usually
So
leads
true.
to a lot of fighting. I'm drinking tequila. I'm sipping on
Tell them how
on a
you're
wonderful
drinking
tequila.
it. It's wild.
So I got a big cube. It actually kind of looks like a cauliflower now, but it was a big round sphere. And I'm drinking it on the rocks. And it's a lovely Siete Leguas, which is 7 horses.
But he's not shooting it, guys. He's just sipping
Sipping on it.
tequila. But apparently it's nice enough to do that.
It's really, really smooth. It's a wonderful,
wild.
Really, it was a gift from one of my employees who just got back from Mexico. So this bottle came from Mexico, and
Nice.
Mexico says hi.
I bet you it tastes better that way.
It tastes just like Mexico.
And that is blue agaves.
100% de agave is what it says right here. It's a Blanco.
of the agave.
Oh, are they related to Day Network?
They might be.
All right.
So yeah, I'm drinking tequila.
Nathaniel, what are we drinking on over there?
I'm drinking some Coke Zero.
Okay. All
I
right.
didn't bring my Diet Pepsi.
Okay.
It's delicious. I put a little grenadine in there because Scotch Beck has like 12 bottles for me because he loves me.
I realized I have Coke and not Pepsi, and I'm sorry.
Well, Scott's got a
still
lot of
love you.
he got a lot of grenadine in last week's draft.
Scott is what you call a facilitator. He will facilitate your good time. But if he thinks you like grenadine, he will get some fucking grenadine. If he thinks you like Coke Zero, he will get you Coke Zero.
He's so sweet.
He might be wrong. It might be Diet Pepsi that he thought you wanted, but
I tried.
And you know how I paid him back? By taking an expensive rye and dumping it in my bag. You didn't have anything cheap, so I took some Templeton rye. And
Because
dumped it
I
in
don't
here.
fucking have cheap shit in my.
You know what? I'm going to tell you, the Templeton rye pairs really nicely with this Coke Zero. Just throwing that out there in case any of you guys want to get in on
That
this
is on the
with me.
fourth shelf, so I'm okay with it.
At some point, we'll have to tell the story again about Nate mixing the liquors with Diet Pepsi. Bradley, what are we drinking?
I've got some 100% pure Citra hops in my Citra bowl. That's a classic from Last Call. And you know what? I brought some cans over and I realized I don't go through all of them. So they've been sitting in the fridge. I dug around. I was like, oh, Citra Bowl. This isn't even available right now at Last Call
You
Brewing.
brought it.
But
I like that. So you're saying that it's not Scott's, but it's been here. So this isn't yours, dude. I actually left this here like 6 or 7 weeks ago.
it makes you feel better. It makes you feel better.
You literally walked in and said, "Hey, Scotch, I didn't bring any beers tonight. Is it okay if I drink yours?" You literally said those words.
Oh boy.
I love doing a podcast with you guys.
Hey,
So-
David Fincher just walked in.
Did we already do the intro song for David
Finchy.
Fincher?
We
Yeah,
sure
we did.
did.
Okay, all right. It seemed like a long time ago. So, David Fincher. I mean, dude, so when you talk about influential directors, in my opinion, I think that you would be remiss not to mention movies like Seven and Fight Club specifically that really influenced that kind of quick cut, cool music, sort of electronica, like really cool visuals coming in, like the scene where he's looking at the garbage can and it kind of comes out of the garbage can and that stuff. I feel like all that stuff's kind of been done. What I really like is the ones where, you know, you get the kind of he talks about the plane crashing or blowing up, and then you get that quick cut to like what it would be like if the plane did crash or
Yeah,
blow up.
because that cost, I'm sure that cost $1 million or something
Just
to
for
do, like
10
maybe
seconds.
more millions
Yeah.
of dollars. And it just he's like, fuck it, we're gonna do that because I want that shot. Rather than just describe it, he wants to show it and very realistically show
That
it.
scene was terrifying. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, "Holy fuck! What just happened? That is insane."
Well, yeah,
great.
the planes and buildings. This comes out in 1999. I mean, I think there's things that would not happen if this
100%.
movie came out a few years later.
Watching those towers fall, and that you wait 2 years and this movie doesn't get made. 100%.
just on that, I felt terrible just like seeing it and being like, oh, that doesn't look as realistic because there's not enough smoke and stuff coming up. The fact that I know what it looks like when
Right.
big buildings come down and just like, nah, that doesn't
not
look
enough
actually
dust and
realistic.
ash.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
kind of terrible.
So, I mean, our boy Fincher has made some absolute bangers. Are we familiar with Mindhunter, the series?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's on my list, and
It's
I never
great,
got to
dude.
it.
Gone Girl with
Great.
Maboya Fleck.
Never saw it.
Oh my
I've never watched
goodness!
Oh
Okay.
my god, dude, you guys.
I think Melissa read the book and was like, I think she might have watched it and was just like, eh.
I think I heard a lot
It's
of
really
people
good.
who read the book didn't like the movie, and so that made me not want to watch it.
So I really like the movie.
Okay.
I have
I do
not
too.
read the book. It's a really interesting movie. He's also did House of Cards with our favorite fucking pariah, Kevin Spacey. Did everybody watch that?
But he only did.
He got that started,
He
basically.
directed a couple episodes
Yeah,
of that.
but
right?
And then he
you
turned it over to a
watch it,
showrunner.
his fucking fingerprints are
yeah, you can see
all over
the,
that
in the
shit.
early seasons.
The things
Yeah.
where like when they're texting and then the text come up on the screen and you can kind of see dialogue that way.
Right.
Like that's the kind of shit that he did that now is done in tons of stuff.
Right.
But he kind of brought that on. 2000
He repeats that in Social Network too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that Social Network was actually before that in 2010.
Oh, okay.
he
So, yeah, so
started
he did that in Social Network, and then
he brings
there you
it
go.
back there, and then it keeps getting done over and over. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I thought the first movie was really fucking good. The books are really good. Another one that you should read the book. Anyways,
The books are great. This is a good, but this movie is a really good adaptation.
how are we feeling about Benjamin Button? What are we thinking about his other movie with Pitt?
I never saw it.
I think it gets shit on more than it should.
It definitely gets shit on more than it deserves.
It's not
Thank
great.
you. I
It's not
agree.
great.
I think people hear about the premise and then immediately kind of like imagine what the movie is. Like I've never seen it. I'll say that, but I think I've always kind of felt like I knew
I love
what it's
that you
going to
said
be.
that because whatever you think it is, It's kind of exactly that.
Is that where he starts off old? Okay. Yeah. It was on one night and I started watching it. It was just weird. And I was like, I can't get it.
It's long. Too.
Yeah.
It's really long.
So the cool concept in that one to me is the concept of, beauty is wasted on the young, right? So like he gets all of this knowledge and experience, and then in his last dying days, when he's like at his best self, he's his most beautiful. He's like 20 years old and like Brad Pitt, you know what I mean? Which is really fucking cool.
He dies as a baby, so not
he
really.
does, but that's later on. But you know what I'm saying?
Spoiler alert. Jeez, thank you.
He does die breastfeeding. It's all right.
Piss himself and shitting himself.
I'd wanna
so it's
go.
just like, when you get old.
Exactly. It works. There's so many metaphors. Zodiac, which we've done on the pod, which is one of my faves. True story. Great shit. We're going to throw it in there just because it's hilarious. George Michael video. so that's what we're gonna go with.
He did Freedom, right? The Freedom. Whatever.
He did some Paula Abdul stuff. Anyways,
you can't leave out the game. The game
we're getting
is
there. We're getting there. We're only in 2002 right now.
Oh shit!
So we've got Panic Room. Which have you guys seen Panic Room?
I like Panic Room. I like it a lot.
It's one that also does not get enough. Like it's sort of like forgotten.
That was well done.
I didn't know who Jared Leto was at the time, and actually I didn't realize it was him until recently. I was like, oh shit, that was Jared Leto in that.
Yeah, he's the blonde guy from Fight Club.
Yeah.
So I want to just let all the listeners know that, like, for most directors, we're not going to go through their entire IMDb, but I'm going to give this fucking to Fincher because I think he deserves it. He even does a Perfect Circle video. I mean, fucking my dude Maynard just laying it down in A Better Band Than Tool. Is that blasphemy, Brad?
Oh, that's rough.
I'm sort of joking. All right. Fight Club 1999, The Game 1997, and Seven in 1990.
Was Seven his first big movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he
Before
does
that,
Alien 3.
He's music video
Alien
guy.
And he basically disowns Alien 3 because he had so many problems with the studio and was fucking pissed by the time it came out.
Well, what's crazy to me is what I saw was he never went to film school, and that blows me away. It's like a guy with a vision like this. How do you just fucking figure that shit out?
It says he grew up, I think, in like Marin County, and
Yeah, he's like a Bay Area boy.
But he
dude.
says everybody around him wanted to be like into like being movies, like making movies, and so like that just kind of he grew up in a crowd that like wanted to make movies. I saw a quote where he said like, "I hated school because they're trying to teach him all the shit out of it." He's like, "I just wanted to learn how to make fucking great movies. Like that's all I wanted to do is just learn." And he's like, there's this rich guy that was up the hill, which was George Lucas, and he ends up getting on with George Lucas, I think, for Return of the Jedi. I think it was.
So I dug pretty deep into his IMDb, and it goes back fucking far. I mean, we're talking 84. He does he did a bunch of Rick Springfield music videos, directed some Rick Springfield music videos. Do you guys remember? It's been brought back more recently. He did a commercial for the American Cancer Society of a fetus inside of the stomach smoking a cigarette. Do you guys remember this? It's like super realistic. It's like gripping the cigarette and freaking you don't remember that?
That sounds so Fincher.
That's Fincher, dude. He did one for the Outfield, for a bunch of Outfield songs that no one's ever heard of. Not the one that you want.
Your Love.
It was not that one. I mean, dude, Eddie Money. He did a bunch of Paula Abdul, bunch of Outfield, Foreigner. Patrick Swayze had some songs, dude.
Yes, he did.
Patrick.
She's Like the Wind.
Yep, that's the one. That music video, dude.
But he did Vogue. I mean, like that.
Yes.
That is
So
a very
then he gets
cinematic.
into Madonna. He sort of moves up to Madonna and Paula Abdul, and then he's in the big time. He's doing Paula Abdul, Madonna, Aerosmith. Does a couple of Aerosmith videos in like 1989, 1990, like Janie's Got a Gun and stuff. Like these are big things. Fucking Billy Idol, Iggy Pop, George Michael. So
if we ignore the music videos, not that we should per se, but we sometimes talk about, batting average versus, sort of like power hitters.
he's got a fucking great.
He's kind of. I mean, like he's a batting average guy, right? Like he's kind of Barry Bonds.
So
like,
if we're just going,
he's never really stopped. He's never really stopped making movies. He hasn't had like where he's taking a break or anything
disagree.
like that.
He's got some gaps. So Alien 3, we're gonna say we don't like. because I don't think it's a good movie.
Okay, but let's say that we ignore that one.
Say we ignore Alien 3. So then he comes out with 7 in 95, which is like 4 years later. And it's a fucking killer. He comes out with The Game 2 years later. He comes out with Fight Club 2 years later. He comes out with Panic Room 3 years later. And then he comes out with Zodiac 4 years later. 1 year later, Benjamin Button. 3 years later, Social Network. 1 year later, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And then you've got Gone Girl in 2014. And then he takes a fucking 7-year break and does Mank, which is his newest one.
So I haven't seen that one.
Which
I watched it.
I'm ashamed to say I have not seen it.
I won't watch it.
It looks like
terrible.
garbage. Yeah.
No, it's a very well made, artistic.
I like Gary Oldman.
I'm trying to be like old timey. I mean, it's based off of Citizen Kane, so I mean that's the whole point of it. And this is when I went and watched Citizen Kane, and then right after that watched Mank, and it was very interesting to see like something that was from so long ago, and then something that's recent, and watching how they kind of connect together. I thought it was kind of cool, but it's definitely not typical Fincher.
Well, it also, I mean, it did really. I mean, it was highly, highly critically acclaimed, right? So if you ignore the sort of like popular, my point is just.
85 to 2023. How many years is that, Nate? You're smart.
85 to 23.
Yeah.
38.
38 years.
Dude, he's been doing this shit for 40 fucking years. I'm not even 40 yet.
But if you go back to his let's ignore Aliens for a second. Okay, he releases his first big one 7 in 95, right?
95 or 97. Yeah. But anyways,
95.
Yeah.
So he has like I think it's like about 10 movies.
His biggest gap was like 4 years in there until the last
there's
gap.
10 or 11 movies in that 26, 27 year period. We talk about Tarantino sometimes, right? He has like 11 movies.
No, he has 9 movies.
Yeah, he has 9 so far.
Okay, so in a similar time span, right? So if you look at it, I mean, he's very Tarantino-like in the sense that, like, as compared, for example, to Scorsese or Spielberg, where there's some real shitters in there, like, and they've directed 3 times or 4 times as many movies.
But we also got to remember though that Tarantino a lot of times is writing his own movies too.
For sure, you're right.
That's a whole different.
But I think
part of the
Nate's
process.
point is the lack of stinkers.
Right. He doesn't have a lot of stinkers, and he's not trying to produce. I mean, whatever he's doing, and I agree that like part of the Tarantino thing is he's writing it, but he's selecting projects and then like bringing projects along where it's clear that that's the only thing he's doing, and like while he's doing it, that's what he's doing. And he's not missing, right? I mean, really. I mean, Benjamin Button set aside.
You got Fincher, Nolan, Tarantino, and there's a couple other guys that if you're a studio and you're going to do a movie, you're going to let these guys do whatever the fuck they want because they've proven that they're going to make hit movies, right? I mean, anything they want to do.
And you might argue that Fincher, as compared to a Tarantino, is, I mean, the reason I sort of say he's like a little bit of both is his stuff tends to also do really well at the box office. I mean, Tarantino eventually has big box office hits too, but it's a little more niche, right? Like there's a crowd for Tarantino.
A lot more niche. And that's kind of Fincher's thing, is he's like pop culture. He's got the music. He's got the fucking quick cuts. He's like fucking in your face about it.
Well, he's also taking topics. I mean, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is just a very famous book when he does it, right? Social Network is about friggin' Facebook at the like pinnacle of Facebook's like, you know, sort of like quick
popularity,
rise.
yep.
So like he's also not just like, he's taking topics that are and actors that are, you know, like he's not trying to be out of the mainstream, and he's feeding the mainstream in terms of like
is the mainstream.
But I also find it crazy interesting that going from Rick Springfield and Madonna videos to all of a sudden 7.
Yeah.
It's like, holy fuck, was this like dark side in him? Like that. I mean, he obviously likes darker imagery. He likes things that like make people uncomfortable a little bit. Like, I mean, it's a lot of his movies deal with things that kind of like make your skin crawl at times.
Well, Jesse's Girl is a pretty fucked up song. I mean, he's talking about another dude's chick. That's fucking dark,
I actually think
man.
that they were going to use that in Love Actually, and then they cut it at the last second because
they were like, this will be problematic. So what's crazy to me, and I don't know what their stardom was or if this was like a big launching pad for them, and one of the things I would ask him was like, how did you go about casting fucking Kevin Spacey, Brad Pitt, and Morgan Freeman and Gwyneth Paltrow in 7? Like, that's your first movie after Alien 3. Like, was that the studio? Is that Fincher's picking? Is that his casting director? Like, that's a fucking... Those guys all went on to be absolute killers and pedophiles. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking wild.
Sorry.
All of them. Did all of them?
Well, I mean, just fucking you pick which one's got what.
I think 25%. I think he's... I don't even know how to acknowledge that.
Sorry.
Gwyneth Paltrow is a pedophile? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
She met Chris Martin.
She sells that on
Is a grooming site.
Goopy grooms.
Oh, Jesus.
You guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, how does he come up with that cast? Like, I mean, fuck, man.
Well, Brad Pitt at that time, I mean, wasn't that was kind of his first like big star vehicle.
Was it?
Yeah, he hadn't done anything
Really?
besides like smaller parts.
Yeah, I think
until that point.
He'd had, did he have True Romances before that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
And he had Thelma and Louise.
yeah. So
Like the two, like, I have a shirt off.
Kevin Spacey, I mean, I honestly, when he was revealed at the end of that, of Seven,
You didn't know
who
the
he
actor.
was.
I had no idea who he was.
Oh, no, I remember
and,
that
And
too.
I remember
Okay.
going, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Holy shit, he's amazing.
Because I didn't
I'm
see
gonna
that
remember
until
him.
later. It's not like I
Yeah.
saw that in the theater. I was a little kid, you know
yeah,
what I
no,
mean?
that's Spacey showing off his chops there.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Who cares what he turned into as an actor? He
He's
was
amazing.
Phenomenal.
I completely
And
agree.
Gwyneth Paltrow, I mean, that like I said, I don't think anybody was really big stars. The fact that they go on to like, so being able to see that talent and be like,
Yeah,
I'm going
it's
to put
weird,
these people
right?
in my movie,
Yeah.
and because
It's
I
almost
see
more
something
impressive.
in them. Yeah,
It's almost more impressive that they weren't big stars and they all went on to be killers.
And Arlie Ermy, Gunny, nobody.
Oh no, Arlie Ermy is he in Seven?
You talking about Army Hammer, bro?
He's like their
chief?
Their chief. Or whatever.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's right. I haven't seen Seven in a long time.
Bad joke.
Anyways,
I'm drinking tequila. I'm sorry.
that casting was impressive to me. That'd be one thing that I would ask him about. And then so if that's one of like Pitt's first big vehicle was Seven, and then so like he kind of like in '99 when he did Fight Club, I'm sure he had some stuff in between.
He's
from
huge
95
by
to
then.
99.
Yeah.
He's huge by then, and that like just like he's just fucking on a rocket to the moon when he stands up right after the bus scene when he beats that dude up and then stands up in the best shape that I think a human could ever be in. I mean, that's like pinnacle movie star hunk, right? I mean, I don't think that it gets any better than Brad Pitt in that Fight Club scene.
Not according to your wives.
Yeah. And also, like, so I admit that I usually try to dig into this, but like, there's a lot of there's a lot of criticism of the Tyler Durden character from a like, he's supposedly really problematic.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot.
What is the take on that? Because I was looking for it, but then usually I either see it or I go back and try to figure out, like, read about it, and I didn't do that. But I didn't see it either. Like, what is the sort of problem? I mean, I always hear it as like a misogynistic thing.
We're a generation of men raised by women. I'm not so sure another woman is the answer. I think there's
it's some of his quotes, and it's also the fact that he is. I think it's the people who misinterpret this as like being like toxic masculinity, like run wild.
100%. That's
see,
it. So
I think
that's-
those are the
Brad
people
is
that
hitting it on
apply
the head, right?
that apply the idea that like, oh, he's this like toxic masculinity, like, oh, you're just gonna fight because that solves all your problems type thing.
Oh, and see, like, yeah, it's so it's the interpretation that like fighting just makes you a badass, and like we should fight and sort all our shit out by fighting.
I think there's a couple interpretations
funny.
of this movie. One of them you can kind of make them all out to be really shitty. One of them you can make them all out to be just like they're kind of just trying to be like away from society and just kind of disconnect from all of that. And then there's the other one that I think that they're really going for, which is kind of almost making fun of the Tyler Durden character, like the whole idea of, you know, everyone's just a slave to capitalism and you're all just fucking being indoctrinated by your work and all that. I think that there's a few different ways to take it, and it just however you want to take it. I mean,
well, look at his end game. I mean, we look at the fighting part and stuff, and it's like that's one part, but then look where it ends up. It becomes a cult. It becomes crazy, and it becomes like
becomes
we're
a bit
all of a sudden.
problematic when you're killing a bunch of people and the buildings are falling down. And
Well, they say
I
that
mean,
they say nobody's in the
yeah, they're
buildings.
not falling on anybody. Dude. I'm sure they
I know.
cleared all the fucking.
The controlled demolition at the end is I have
That
some
was
questions.
that was the first thing I thought of when I watched it this time. I was like, dude, they talked about how all the buildings are safe, everybody's out of there. I was like, dude, those buildings are crushing all kinds of people walking on the street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on the toxic, I mean, on the sort of like motivation or the way you're supposed to view the characters. I mean, Norton literally kills that part of him, right? I mean, at the end, right? There's a struggle there between, and I don't think he kills it. He doesn't kill it in favor of like returning to the sort of like, capitalist simplistic lifestyle from before, but he certainly kills it as an objection to the like.
So I think that's the part,
craziness.
That's the part that people that have an objection to this movie forget about, and they really just have an objection to the hyper masculine, fuck like I want to fuck, look like I want to look, fucking Tyler Durden character. And I think that people look at that, and I think that they think, adolescent boys are going to look at this and they're going to think that this is an idol and a role model that they should look after, anarchy, fucking chicks, and freaking doing all this stuff. And I don't like that, which, to each his own, but I think Nate's right. At the end, he literally, kind of rejects that, right? And he's trying to stop it from happening.
I watched this with my son, and his comment after
And he's
this,
how old?
He's 16.
God, I wanted to watch it with Hunter, but Lisa said no.
At the end of the movie, he's like, I can see why this Tyler Durden character would be appealing to, like, he's like, kids my age, kind of like, he's like, I can see.
I'm with him, dude.
Right.
And that's the thing.
I was his age when I watched it, and I was like, this is fucking amazing.
The character's very cool. Like, and there's lots of cool shit. He dresses cool.
Yeah.
He fucking talks cool. He looks great.
And like you said, he doesn't give a fuck.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things about him that are cool. It's just, and so I guess I get the take that like people that are not thinking, young people who are not thinking, very deeply about it could just absorb the cool and miss the whole thing. But like, are we really in a world where we need to go around and like protect? We can't put anything out into the world where like the people that are of the simplest minds or the like least mature minds are potentially going to mistake it for something it's not, right? I mean, part of my take is like, yeah, we shouldn't. This is maybe one that we shouldn't be letting like little kids watch, and that we should try to have conversations with our teenagers about how to think about it. But like, I guess part of my thought about this is like, just because someone or some group would take this poorly and miss the point does not mean that like it is in fact that thing.
Right.
I 100% agree, and I think that that's true of a lot of problematic
A lot of
things
shit.
that
Social
people-
media
Yeah, exactly.
and just everything nowadays. That is a big problem.
As long as you can have a conversation and kind of make sense of what people are seeing, especially young minds that are seeing this shit, and kind of let them ask questions and kind of try and make sense of what they're seeing, I think they can watch anything, right?
Well, let's just like, it's a movie about the slippery slope in a lot of ways, right? About like the like pushing things to their limits.
100%.
So if you ask me like right now, like, does it sound fun to you to like go like outside and the four of us like fight just to see what that's like? My honest answer is yeah. Fuck yeah, it does.
Have we just watched this movie? Because I'm fucking in.
Yeah, I'm in, dude. I want to fight. I want to get punched in the face. Like I see the appeal to doing that. Do I want to join a club where I fight every week to just like the ends of the earth and get the shit kicked out of me and kick the shit out of people? Nope.
Well, that's a good question that I have for the director. Is like, one of the rules of Fight Club is if it's your first night, you have to fight. So how often does a guy fight the first time and then every other? Now he's just a spectator for the whole rest. He's like, I fought once and now I'm just going to watch for the rest of the time. Like,
or that's like, that was cool. I'm never coming back here, but that was fucking fun. Like I don't know. It seems to me like it's an exercise in, for anyone that's thinking about it, like, oh yeah, that sounds fun for a minute. And then like the rest of the shit is just fucking living in squalor and like going around doing things that are fucking mean, or like, some nonsense.
I'll say there's a little bit of this that is related to, and why I have so much kind of respect for those that like train mixed martial arts and stuff. It's like, I was doing jiu-jitsu for a while, and it's like, it's not if you get hurt, it's when you get hurt. You're going to get hurt. Like, it just happens. Like, it's you're aggressively having combat with somebody, and you're going to get hurt at some point. And so you keep getting hurt, and there's just guys that go back. I mean, they blow out their knee or whatever, and they go back and stuff. It's like, I got to the point where I hurt my shoulder so bad I couldn't like lift my arm for 3 days, and I was like, I just think I'm gonna pass on this. And I stopped. I just stopped doing jiu-jitsu for a while because I was like, I don't think I want to like have a catastrophic injury and then like have to like rehab and stuff from this at my age. I'm just like, I'm not ready for that anymore. So
Well, I guess you're out of Project Mayhem then.
yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you're right. It's like, why would you do that every week? Because you're, and I guess that's a problem I have with the movie. And I think I might even save it for my body bag. So I'm gonna save that for.
I'm just really enjoying Brad talking about him doing jujitsu wearing a Mr. Incredible T-shirt. just brings me great joy.
Well, you know, when you do jiu-jitsu, you either get to wear a gi or you get braids. Either one. You have to choose one or the other because your opponent can grab onto that and do moves to grapple with you. Fuck, we've gone pretty long without even talking to Mr. Fincher. Does anybody have any other topics that they want to bring up to my dude?
I do. I have another one.
Okay, what you got, Nathan?
I really want to. I would want to pin him down. I mean, again, this is really a better one for the author, but I'll let Fincher speak for him.
Chucky P.
I want.
How do you say his last name?
I want to know like what I want. Chuck Peloton.
It's Peloton.
Chuck Peloton.
That's where he made his millions. Anyways, go ahead.
That's Palukinaki.
I want to know like whether this is a fucking argument for or against capitalism, whether it's an argument for or against anarchy. So and this gets like, you know, so I alluded to the sort of like my political philosophy interests. So anytime I see stuff like this, it sort of reminds me of Thomas Hobbes' like State of Nature, right? And the basic sort of like point of this is he sets up the justification for polite society and basic governmental rule by laying out what it would look like for us to just have anarchy, right? Yep. And it sounds just fucking horrible, right? Like he paints it as this like very, you know, and in particular, right, as this like everything is done by force and by violence, right? So like shit just gets sorted out by who can fight better, basically. And so one interesting twist on this is like a lot of people see it, and you were making the case early, Zach, that this is like, you know, appealing to young people who are kind of anti-capitalist and fuck the man.
It's easy to be that when you're young, is what I'm saying.
But it's an interesting, like, you know, if you take it as like, this is the alternative to capitalism, is these fucking nut jobs who just blow shit up, right? The other way to look at this is to say like, you know, maybe we're not arguing for capitalism, but like the idea, like pushing anarchy even close to its limits is just like immediately looks silly.
So I think that's part of, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? I mean, that's the argument. Like, is this movie glorifying it or condemning it?
I don't. I would really want to know the answer.
Depending on who you are and when you watch it, like when you're 18 years old and your fucking dad is paying your rent and
it doesn't
you
look
have
that
no
fucking
responsibilities,
different.
you're like, fuck, dude, this is
Sounds
great.
great.
Fuck the man. You know what I mean? But then when you watch it as an adult, you're like, oh, maybe this is like, you know, they like you said, it's a cautionary tale. They took it a little too far. Maybe this isn't fucking the way that it should be.
I mean, I
don't know. I like it.
I see it both ways. It's like, so I got kind of a new car, and if I saw somebody hit it with a fucking bat, I'm going out there like, what the fuck is going on? Like ballistic. Like I'm losing my mind. Like I'm like, I earned this with my career, with my blood, sweat, and tears of like getting to my point in my career. I can afford a decent car, and like if you fuck it up, I've got problems with that. Like even if you think like whatever, you don't deserve it or something like that would anger me. But I think it's also a cautionary tale to capitalism in the sense that it's like letting those who have so much like realize that like, if we take away all the protections, you motherfuckers are going to get destroyed.
And this is exactly my like this gets back to my punch in the face point, which is there's this illusion we walk around in polite society that like the stuff or how clever you are or your status within a job or an organization makes it so that like you're intimidating in some way or you're better in some way. And it does have that like very base, like, no. Like if we just take all that shit away, like it's all about who's going to win the fight, you know?
And not only that, it's all about like he tells the guy, we are the people that make your food. We are the people that mow your lawn. We are the people. We are the people that make your life happen. You know what I mean? We can fuck your shit up if we want to fuck your shit up. Which is, I think, a powerful message. And I'm gonna step all over my fucking streaming recommendation right now. But have you guys seen the movie A Day Without a Mexican?
No.
You have not.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
So, dude, it's fucking wild. It's basically one of those deals where it's a political commentary, but, everybody wakes up and there's no more Mexicans. And then everybody slowly realizes, like, what their fucking life is like without the Mexican people, especially on the West Coast in California. And it's absolutely really impactful watch.
Well, this is the irony of like all the immigration stuff.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Precisely. Is like you live in a world that is created by this like by the existence of the way the immigration policy works. And like some people really complain about it. And it's an interesting sort of dichotomy and unclear, right? Like where you should really fall on this depending on, and I think some of the same things are true. I mean, I guess the dichotomy here for me is on the one hand, right, like anarchy looks really bad. On the other, there's a core nugget there, which is like sometimes it feels kind of shitty that your whole life is defined by these things that are very material and kind of like seem very fake and very circumstantial, right? There is an appeal of maybe not that full-fledged anarchy, but of like freeing yourself of the
your
constraint.
status is not defined by whether you have all the shit from the IKEA catalog,
right? Or your or your happiness, or your purpose, or whatever it is. Yeah.
This for some reason reminds me of one of my favorite Joe Rogan comedy bits. He had a comedy bit in like the mid '90s of talking about what would happen if the power went out. He's like, what happened? What do you do when the power goes out? He's like, you probably do what I do. You sit and you wait
for the power to come back on.
He's like, and what if that power never came back on? Like all of a sudden, like how long would it take for you to all of a sudden realize, well, shit, the power's not coming back down. Like what do we do fucking now? Like all of a sudden you're in that whole kind of survival mode, and it's like, who's gonna win then? Like,
well,
now,
and don't you ever feel when you think about that? Don't you feel like you kind of want to be tested that way?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's a little bit of the Fight Club too. Is like it's and this is like back to my early point, which is some of it is I think not about like necessarily like wanting to beat up people as much as it is like, can I take a beating, or how am I going to do, and am I going to lose my head in a fight? Like there's like I just want to test myself, just because it might be a hard thing that I haven't experienced very often.
I think Joe Rogan pictures it in his head as if that happens, he'll just come out of his apartment and then like there'll be a stake on the ground and there'll be one guy that he has to jujitsu against together. And he'll be like, I'm fucking prepared for that.
Oh, man.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fincher. We love you. We'll see you next segment.
I'm Tawny Ray.
And I'm Felicia Connor.
And we are Two Chicks in a Horror Flick, a weekly horror movie review podcast.
We are two horror-addicted best buds sharing our unedited, comical, no bullshit opinions on the horror flicks we love and hate.
And you can always expect some interesting movie trivia. We cuss a bunch, spoil the shit out of some movies, and drink a little whiskey.
You can find us on every social media platform and listen to us on your favorite podcatcher by searching Two Chicks in a Horror Flick.
And remember, no nightmares.
Hit that intro, Brad.
Is it a one-night stand, or do you hit it with a shovel, or take it home to mom and dad? It's like fuck, marry, or kill. It's shag, snack, body bag.
Is it a one-night stand, or do you shoot him in the bitch tits?
An opportunity was missed.
His poor head.
My dude, Robert Paulson. So shout out to our boy Joe Paulson, who listens to the pod, who is your guys' buddy. So I grew up a buddy of his younger brother, whose name was Bobby Paulson.
Robert.
And was just a great dude. Shut up, Brad.
Why are you grabbing the mic tonight?
I don't know.
You're like fucking handsy with that mic.
It's super handsy, trying to get it all up in my grill.
Jesus.
But anyways, I want to give a shout out to...
Do you guys know an actual Robert Paulson?
I went to school with him for years, and he's a crazy dude.
Bob.
And when this movie came out, I still knew old Robert Paulson, and there was definitely a lot of his name is Robert Paulson. I
mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And we mentioned last week that big Josh Baskin. We went to school with Josh Baskin too.
Oh no shit!
Yeah,
I love it.
We got to have Joe Paulson on sometime.
We should.
Joe is one of the funniest dudes I've ever met.
I love that.
Mail order rides is one of his. He has like some t-shirts and stuff.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right into my shag because I'm going to shag fucking Meatloaf.
Oh, well, there you go.
Ma,
yeah.
Meatloaf.
Dude, fucking I'm going to shag the food because it's perfect. I mean, is there any better meat product to eat than meatloaf?
Pretty much every meat
Answer.
product,
Meat-
but yes,
yeah,
okay.
meatloaf.
All right.
Well,
Pretty much everything else except for meatloaf is the best.
well, that didn't go where I thought it would go.
They're like, let's take all the shit you don't like and cover it in ketchup and fucking throw it in the oven. Okay, here we go. This is meatloaf.
Actually, my mom makes some really fucking good
Yeah.
meatloaf.
Good meatloaf is good.
Yeah.
It's no doubt.
But no, Meatloaf, the singer, the actor, because dude, I thought he was great in this.
he's
he's
really
great.
good.
His emotion, like even at the beginning, when he's just so, he's crying and he's so good and so
Earnest,
believable.
man. Like,
Earnest.
yeah,
Oh my God.
absolutely.
And the scene that breaks my heart is when he's standing on the front porch. And God, he walks out there. He's like,
Walking away.
"You're too old, fat man," and he just walks off and he just looks all sad and dejected.
You forgot the other line though is your tits are too big.
It's old, fat man. Your tits are too big.
Oh man, it's so great. And so yeah, dude, I'm shagging Meatloaf.
I love that.
It's like an American Pie sequel.
Nate, what are we? What are we shagging?
So I'm going to shag Brad Pitt. He's hard one not to snag, but there's just like if I wasn't going to snag him and I decided not to, you can't leave him off the list. He's just so on fire in this. So I'll like 12 Monkeys, which we're talking about, so Brad Pitt's breakout, right? He has 7, and then 12 Monkeys pretty quickly after that and before this. And at that point, right, you kind of get the like, okay, Brad Pitt was really good in 7. He was pretty before that. But now he's like all the way a legit kind of like method actor, crazy person, right? In 12 Monkeys. For me, this movie is the one that like kind of brings it all back together.
Brings it full circle.
He's like
crazy.
pretty and like, he's like such a good looking dude. He's in such great shape. He's so cool. Like he's so charismatic.
Right.
But his acting is insane in this. Like he pulls the character off, kind of brings all the things from the previous role. So like I don't want to go and go crazy and say this is the best Brad Pitt ever was, but it's damn close if it's not. I mean, it's a top 3 for
That's a
sure.
great argument.
He's one of my favorite actors
Absolutely.
ever. Like because sometimes you hear that term character actor and it's kind of has this negative tinge to it, which I think is fucking stupid. Like, what is acting? It's like, dude, a character actor, the guy that can do multiple things, multiple accents, multiple fucking amazing characters. He's great and he's beautiful and fucking whatever.
I'm not
It's
even
like,
mad
dude,
that he's so pretty.
Yeah.
Well, and when you see like my big like kind of like opened my eyes was Floyd in True Romance. It's like because immediately you're gonna think, okay, this guy in real life is Floyd. That's the only way he can do that. But then when you find out, no, that's not him in real life. That's just him playing the like most perfect stoner on the couch.
And stoners are really easy to overact.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was just perfect.
So I guess I have a different take on that, and I think Brad Pitt's like my favorite actor who's like not that great of an actor, but he pulls it all off. I think. Wow. I think he's I
disagree on that.
Favorite actor that sucks at acting. You know what I mean?
I don't think he's that
Of all the
great.
shitty
He's
actors,
anything, but he's
He's
fucking
so good as an
Yeah.
actor and everything, but he just sucks at acting.
I would
That's
say
like
he
weird.
got to a point where he became Brad Pitt the actor. I will agree that I haven't seen him do outside of like Aldo Rain in Inglorious.
One of my favorite roles.
I don't think he's like beyond that. I'm trying to think of a role where it's like he wasn't just I'm Brad Pitt.
You're saying recently, because obviously there are some early ones.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's like Aldo Rain. That was
I mean,
that was
Snatch is a great
Snatch
film.
is fucking
No, but
crazy.
Inglourious Bastards was 2010, I think, or something like that, or 2012, or
You're saying
something.
since then.
I guess he's
Since
just
then,
a guy.
I'd like to think of a role where he's not just kind of like, hey, it's Brad Pitt.
He's a guy that I really like in pretty much everything that he's in, but I don't ever think of him as like this great thespian, I guess. And that might be a product of the fact that he's so pretty. I don't know.
Fair enough. You're
I mean,
wrong.
he did just do Bullet Train, so
Yeah.
He's Brad Pitt in Bullet Train. I watched that. He's absolutely Brad Pitt in Bullet Train. Like
is he Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time?
He was Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11.
he was kind
the
of Brad
Ocean's
Pitt.
movies.
He was kind of Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time. Like he kind of
Yeah,
was
in a
like-
way.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Oh, yeah, especially if we're going
Well,
like,
but he can't be a fucking crazy character.
I mean, he's Brad Pitt. He's Brad Pitt in Moneyball.
What are you shagging, Brad?
If I was Brad Pitt, I'd be Brad
What are you
Pitt. in all his
shagging, Brad?
movies.
My shag is going to be the Dust Brothers soundtrack because I immediately went out after watching this movie and bought the soundtrack. And there's so many different little scenes that like just the music really makes it. Like, I love when he's looking through the IKEA catalog and just like the little music behind. It's like almost like elevator music. It's like it's got this little like Casio kind of like little drum beat going, and then the sex scene, like where it's like making that like whoa, like that, like the weird like noise that it's just super cool there. Noise. Yeah, that was kind of uncomfortable. That was kind of fucked up. But the Dust Brothers as a producing duo, I mean, they did Paul's Boutique, one of the greatest albums of all time. They did a bunch of Beck shits, including Odelay and
Beck shits.
Beck's shit. And
I took some Beck shits earlier.
I mean, maybe not Scotch Beck's shits.
I said there's a new YouTube series called Beck Shits.
Yeah.
Every morning, all it says is what do you had for breakfast, and then there's a video.
On to the party.
There's a whole week of peanuts.
All right, and then but the Dust Brothers, I mean, absolutely like magnus opus would be Bop by Hanson.
Shit.
Magnum opus.
You
What
can't
did I
fuck
say?
with
Magnus opus.
Magnus is Magnum's.
Did I say Magnus?
sister.
I thought I said Magnum opus.
No, I like Magnus opus.
I thought I said Magnum, but okay, that's fine. But yeah, they did Mbop. They produced that album too.
That fucking song was huge. Can't argue with that.
Dude, I remember this cat that was with us when my buddy was going to set off the pipe bomb. He had a tape that he recorded Mbop and then recorded it again over and over, both sides, side A and side B, for a total of like 58 minutes of Mbop over and over and over.
Well, it's like
again.
you see these YouTube videos of fucking
10 hours
of Mbop or whatever.
I mean, I mean, you can talk about perfect pop songs, and that might be one of them. Okay, so
we're still talking about Fight Club, right?
I'm going to go with my shag, and it's going to be David Fincher. And I think I just fucking love the cuts, the music, all of the shit that you guys are talking about put into the final package, which is just so slick and just perfectly packaged, I think, is what he does. He took his kind of music video ness and kind of put it into this movie and just shipped it out, and it hits perfect. And I mean, it's 2023. This movie came out, 20 years ago, and I can still watch it today and think, God damn, this shit hits really hard. So all right, we're moving on.
I'd like to piggyback off that.
What you got?
Go into the snags real quick.
Love it.
Because I was going to say David Fincher's cinematography.
I love it.
Because just he has this feel and this look, and because I'm a huge fan of Seven, it definitely felt similar in the look. And he's used the same two guys pretty much in all his movies.
Cinematographers,
yeah. Darius, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Kanji and Jeff Cronenworth are his cinematographers. And he's stuck with those two guys because he has this look that fucking works. I mean, it has this amazing feel. All his movies feel kind of the same, and I fucking dig it. So I'm going to snag that.
I'll say that out of all the uncomfortable scenes in this movie, the scene that actually, like, it happens multiple times, the scene that makes me the most uncomfortable is when they're standing, like, ankle deep in water and they're fucking with the fuses. I always just get so cringy on that. I'm just like, oh God, like I'm just waiting for them to get zapped and like, 100%. Like, but it's just the way they shoot it is like perfect.
That whole house feels just like fucking like the gluttony scene in Seven. It's just like,
it really does.
It's just gross. That whole house, that the set design on that house is incredible. It's just, you just feel how dirty
it is.
And
when he sits down on the mattress when he first walks in, I get the skeevies, man.
And he's totally okay with it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's fine. This is you.
I think Nate said it best earlier when he was just like, it's kind of glorified, and then you just realize he's just kind of living in squalor the whole time.
What is this?
Have any of you been to Pajaro Dunes?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when you're going out to Pajaro Dunes, like there's like it looks like a giant haunted house.
I know exactly what you're talking about. When we left the beach last time, we drove right by it.
Yeah, and it's like that house out there. It just kind of reminds me of like that would be like the house because it's out in the middle of nowhere. There's probably no neighbors around and stuff. And just having if you could just squat in that house for a while, like
it's so funny.
I tell you what, dude, how fucking fun would it be to hit golf balls like they were in the middle of fucking nowhere, just fucking railing.
Some factory.
But that's exactly Nate's point. Like that looks super fun, and then you have to go back and lay on that mattress.
all the water that comes out of the faucets just looks
Brown.
incredibly terrible.
He's brushing his teeth with that fucking shit water. Oh, God.
Warm your toast on an open burner.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna snag watching a movie blind. So this is one that obviously comes up a few times, but this movie, not just because it's a twist, right? Which it does have a great twist, and you don't, and I think one of the things, I mean, go 2 layers in, you don't even know there is a twist, right? When you go in fully blind on this one. Some movies, you know, especially now, right? Certain directors have real reputations, but this one, I mean, I went into it. I didn't know whether there was a twist. I didn't know, you don't know what it's about. You don't know what to expect from that. It was just everything was totally unexpected.
Right.
And I think for this movie, it works particularly well. And then maybe it's, among the best to go into really blind, especially because this was the first one that Fincher does that's sort of this style totally, I mean, whereas some you see little bits of it, but in terms of the way that the cuts work, some of the music and things, it's kind of comes at you in a more manic way. And so it's really, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, I would love to go back in time and watch this again and experience that twist again. I'd also like to go back in time and experience the first time I saw it after I saw it the first time. Because then you can watch
and what's going on
for the clues, and you start seeing, oh shit, that scene makes more
this and that.
Shit.
It's a fun second watch.
How did I miss that first time I watched it? How did I miss her reacting to it that way? It's
right.
Of course, dude.
It all makes sense the second time.
Totally,
especially the interactions with Marla's character.
Absolutely.
For sure.
When he's in the kitchen and he's just saying, yeah, Tyler's not here or whatever. She's like, what?
I mean, it's the most kind of heavy-handed, but when he's beating himself up in his boss's office, he says, I was reminded of my first fight with Tyler. Because that's exactly what he was doing, beating his own ass.
Exactly.
I'll say my son, he said after the movie, he's like, just because of pop culture and stuff, he's like, it had been spoiled for me. He's like, right. I knew the ending, which it kind of made me sad. I was thinking about it. I was like, oh man, because if your kid's into pop culture whatsoever, right, they're going to hear references and stuff, and they're probably just inquisitive. They're going to try to find out, what's that reference mean? And my son's that type, so he's probably going to spoil. I bet I couldn't watch Sixth Sense with him. I bet he probably already knows.
Yeah, Sixth Sense or Usual Suspects is another one.
Usual Suspects would be great. I was actually thinking about watching Sixth Sense with Hunter. I don't think he knows the twist or anything about it.
Get it before he figures it out. That would be awesome. And don't tell him until you're that night. Just sit down. We're watching Sixth Sense, so he doesn't have time to
Google it.
Get I should check this out before.
I've been on a pretty good roll of telling him hey, we're gonna watch this movie, and then Lisa shoots it down, and then he's like, ugh, and then she's like, why do you have to make me the bad guy? Why do you keep telling him we're gonna watch these ridiculous movies, and then I have to tell you can't watch it with them?
Hey, Andrew, we're gonna watch Showgirls. Wait, your mom says you can't see that.
Aim high, and then just I guess we'll just watch this instead. Have a subtle movie. Have your.
Well, that's where we ended up. I watched. We were gonna watch. I can't remember. We were gonna watch the movie Wreck. I don't know if anybody's watched that. It's a Spanish movie. It's a great found footage movie because we watched.
REC.
Yeah. Okay. It was fucking great. And then my wife shot that down. And then I said, okay. She had already gone to bed. I was like, all right, we're going to watch Cabin in the Woods. And so we watched Cabin in the Woods together, and he loved it. But I'm glad we didn't watch it with Mom because Mom probably would not have approved.
No, we did watch Blair Witch. We all went camping, and they watched Blair Witch, and his son, who's 12, asked me, I think earnestly, if I was going to watch it. And I was like, are you crazy? No, I'm not going to watch it. And he proceeded to just shame me relentlessly for 2 straight days.
I told him, I said, you better tell Nate he's a puss.
Yeah, he walks up next to me. My dad says, you're a puss. I said, I am a puss, and I'm not watching that fucking movie.
You said earlier that Fight Club was your favorite movie experience in the theater.
Yep.
Blair Witch is definitely my top 5.
Yeah, it was amazing in the theater. We watched it camping in the woods. It was cool. Well, kind of the woods.
We watched it camping in a parking lot at a casino, dude.
Yeah. We were glamping.
You
there
couldn't
was
even
fake
see
trees.
the woods from where we were. There was literally fake turf where we were sitting to watch the movie.
My 12-year-old was still spooked by it, I thought. It was pretty cool.
Me too. I refused to watch it.
All right. My snag is Helena Bonham Carter.
Dude, that was my second pick for it.
And I'll say that I've only seen... Okay. this is a weird thing because I respect the fuck out of Helena Bonham Carter, even though I have really not seen a whole bunch of her movies. Like, I have not seen her in much,
Dude,
except for
all your guys' movies. Bro.
Fight
What's
Club
his name?
and Bellatrix Lestrange in the Harry Potter movies.
But what about the guy that she's married to?
Well, she
does voices in a lot of.
No, she does.
Jesus,
She's married to Burton, isn't she?
Burton.
Tim
yeah,
Burton.
Tim
Burton.
Tim Burton. Movie.
Oh yeah, she's been in a bunch of the Tim Burton
a bunch
movies.
of his stuff, and she's got a British accent too, which is wild, and she's amazing in this.
In this movie, I just don't know if you could name an actress that would do a better job because she's just
Agreed.
that perfect.
She's so grimy.
Crazy, like just all her line readings are just perfect, and like I don't know.
Well, I had this.
Good luck saving her.
So I had this question for Fincher. I didn't get to it because it wasn't that good of a question. But is she really that weird? Because she plays some sort of weird in every movie.
She's married to Tim Burton. Bro.
Yeah, she's got to be a little odd.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, what is she like in real life? I've never really seen any interviews of her. Have you guys ever seen any?
She's probably super normal.
Right. But she seems like she's always like in crazy outfits and just because she was in that Big Fish.
Yeah.
She was
Tim Burton.
Just crazy outfits and she always has this kind of a crazy weird character. So I'm just kind of wondering what she's like in real life.
She's the Alice Cooper of.
But she's amazing. She's so good.
Yeah. So I absolutely 100% she carries herself just as well as Norton and Pitt in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put the wrong actress in this movie, it really fucks up the role.
I mean, if you look, I'm going to show Scott some pictures of her right now as like a normal human. She's like a very pretty little woman. You know what I mean? She's really tiny, I guess, is the sentiment.
Yeah, she doesn't seem that big.
I'm gonna go next. We're snagging.
We are.
So I'm gonna go with the author Chuck Palahniuk. Chuck what? So if anybody out there really loves Fight Club, there's another movie that they made of his books called Choke with anyways, you can go watch it. It's not that great. It's got Roller Girl in it, and it's got Sam Rockwell, I think. Wasn't really super well made, but the book is great. And I'm just gonna list off like 5 or 6 of his books that I really like. If anybody wants to jot these down and go read them, they're fucking amazing.
Real quick before that, if I'm mistaken, I think Chuck P did say that this is his favorite. Fight Club is his favorite adaptation of one of his books.
Oh, it's the best by far.
If you're mistaken, or if you're not,
he's not mistaken.
Did I say? Okay.
It is his Magnus Opus.
It's Valerius. It's Magnus. It's Valerius.
So
it's his Magnus condom.
There's a book that he wrote called Invisible Monsters about a beauty queen that's amazing. Survivor is really good. Haunted, Snuff, Lullaby, and Rant. That's a bunch of books. I know that I just listed off a bunch of books, but go check them out. They're all super accessible. They're super short. You're talking, they're like 1-day reads, 2-day reads, depending on how fast you read. They're a couple hundred pages, nothing daunting or crazy. And they are just, they're the definition of once you start reading, you don't put them down because you're like, what the fuck is this book about? Holy shit, this is crazy. And you want to get to the end of it. They all have kind of these themes that are similar to Fight Club that are kind of make you think about what he's trying to put across.
Like Green Eggs and Ham?
Yes, dude. Yes. Well, that's just like Nazi fucking propaganda, but
hate you so much.
It's really good. The guy's a great writer, and he's a really good like modern storyteller. It's not in any way like any if you read like any like literature, this is not what it is. It's pulpy and it's raw and it's really cool. So you guys should check it out.
All
Nathan,
right. What am I supposed to be doing?
Body bags.
So I found this one really, really tough. So I thought that I guess I would say the one, maybe this is more of a nitpick than a body bag. I thought that the extent of the infiltration was like got to be a bit caricaturish.
Had too many guys.
Well, so like when the cops end up being in on it,
like three of the cops
of them
in the
all
room,
coordinated, and then like, he literally can't go anywhere without everybody. I think it risked. I mean, on the one hand, maybe the argument is like this is supposed to be sort of like a caricature, so I guess you could make that argument, but it made it like it made the whole thing feel more like fantastical as opposed to like just being in his head.
I remember in when he puts her on the bus and he says, "I can't see where the bus is going."
Yes,
and he turns around. So like there was I remember just seeing questions on the internet like, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's right." It's like, how did he know where she went? Like, how did they get her to bring her back? And I didn't realize until this viewing that as the bus starts to drive off, you see, and she starts to walk back, everybody in the bus stands up.
Yeah.
So it's like
I thought I saw the bus driver with the black eye too.
Yeah. So I think exactly. So I think the bus drivers also. So I know that was something I noticed, and also the cops in particular. And then there was a couple of the restaurant scene, but I was just like, man, this is just this feels to me like it's went too far.
So I guess the only argument for that,
Fight Club.
the only argument for that is that subconsciously he's going to all those places because he knows those are all places that he's not going to get caught up. Because he doesn't want to get caught.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's
that
trying
he knows
to
where they're at.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I'm moved off it a little bit by that. Okay.
That's the only argument I can think of, but I
It's
agree
not
with
a
you.
coincidence.
It's super overarching. Like
Yeah. If you think of the way you're thinking of it, it makes a lot. It softens that a lot. So
I'm gonna body bag, but I'm actually gonna give him a hug before I put him in the body bag, which is the marketing department for this movie, because the movie was marketed terribly. Like a lot of people thought this is a movie about like fighting and just like a boxing club and stuff without understanding like oh, there's just a bunch of dudes fighting. Why would I want to go see this? And I'm gonna give him the hug before I put him in the body bag, because how the fuck do you market this movie? It's like it had to be the toughest job. I can't imagine being some type of marketing person and trying to like be like, who do we market this to? How do we present it in a trailer or a commercial that's going to like get people enticed without being like spoiling anything or like just portraying it as like a complete like, oh, it's just a bunch of violent dudes fighting each other. Like how do you do this? And it had to be the toughest job ever.
hard to get corporate sponsors for a movie like this. Like you're like reaching out to IKEA, like, hey, you know what? I think we're going to mention a bunch of your products in this movie. You want to be,
which is funny because Starbucks is all over the movie, and then the one little coffee shop they break, Starbucks is like, nope, but you can't have the thing go smashing into a Starbucks. Right. Like we'll have our cups in the movie all over the place, and they'll be talking shit on corporate greed and all this stuff, but you can't bust up our little coffee shop. So again, just very tough, but it was marketed horribly, and that's part of the reason why it didn't do very, very well. We didn't even mention it. It $63 million budget, 101 million worldwide gross. As popular as this movie is now, and like kind of as it's considered to be a classic, like it should have made a whole bunch more money, but I think just people were like confused. Like, why would I go see that? A Fight Club?
I think this was one that was in the sweet spot for DVDs and had a big second life.
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. They made so much money on the back end, which it's weird thinking that there's a lot of movies that just don't have that opportunity anymore.
It's not a thing.
Nope.
So my original body bag, I've kind of already talked about a little bit, was going to be just guerrilla terrorists, and they're just a bunch of assholes and fuck them. But you guys made me realize that it is important to the movie, and there are reasons behind it. I'm going to actually body bag. I'm not a big fan of Jared Leto, but the scene where he gets his face punched in is so hard to watch, and just that whole scene is so brutal and so gross. I couldn't watch it this time, so I hated him just getting his face.
You're body bagging his fighting ability.
I'm body bagging
ability not to defend himself.
The sounds of his face getting punched in, and just getting pretty much just deformed, was gnarly, and I hated it, and I didn't like watching it. And I turned away this time.
Dude, when you see him like the next time, and his like half of his face is still like all like like blistered up, like they almost had to like do surgery on him or something. Like,
but I do love the fact so there's an actor, his name is Ian Bailey, and he's like the low budget Paul Rudd. The guy he's one of the guys who's on the front porch. He's like, "You're too fat and you're too blonde."
It's a good line.
Which is a great line. So yeah, anyway, that's what I'm body bagging.
So if I'm going to body bag something, and Nate, I think, touched on it first, and then we all kind of touched on it a little bit ago, and that is going to be the idea that, and this is important to the movie, which I think is skipped over a lot, is the idea that if you're gonna forego all of these comforts and get rid of your beautiful IKEA apartment, you have to live in absolute fucking you're just like living with roaches and fucking sitting on that. And it's one of the things about the movie that when you watch it as an adult, you're like, yeah, I don't really care that I'm a fucking slave to corporate America because I don't want to fucking live like that. Holy shit. It's kind of a cautionary tale, but at the same time, like, it's the one thing that I would have to body bag from it, because it's just like, ugh. And I guess
I legit had that exact same thought after the night I watched the movie, when I was going to bed at night, and my bed was so nice and comfy.
Yeah.
And I was pulling my covers. I was like, I cannot imagine living on that fucking squeaky like spring mattress that dude was on for forever, however long.
And I have one more really quick body bag, and that is the sound of Marla and Tyler fucking in the house. Is he like the slowest fucking guy? Like, I don't understand. Like, it was like a really like. Like, it was super weird, like how it was going down, like the rhythm with which he was fucking her. Like, I don't know, man.
Gotta mix it up, man.
Yeah, I mean, he had
a rubber glove on at one point. So
that is one of the best
Going
things.
with rubber gloves. I was like, you want to finish her off?
You want to finish her?
What is he doing?
So yeah, they were into some wild shit.
Yeah, but
no
just
doubt.
some of the scenes which were really funny when he was kind of just walking around listening to them have sex the whole time. I was like, what is with this dude's like extremely slow rhythm? He was like a weird like Indian like like burial music. All right, what's our next category, Brad?
Crackle, Pluto, HBO, find anime on Crunchyroll, Peacock, Hulu, Disney, Netflix, Tubi, Sling TV, Shudder, Fubo. What the fuck is Fubo? I'm sure it'll cause a sensation. It's a streaming recommendation.
One of these days we're gonna have to go video on this bitch, because you know when we're playing these little songs where you like have like little dances and stuff, like we all kind of have our own little thing going on as we play each bumper. It's kind of fun. Maybe one of these days y'all see us.
Maybe. I would
maybe
hold your breath on that.
Maybe not. I'm gonna start our streaming recommendations because I already spoiled mine. And the funny thing about my streaming recommendation is that I've searched high and low for a place that you can actually stream this fucking movie, and you can't. So just go on YouTube. I'm pretty sure you can watch it on YouTube, and it's called A Day Without a Mexican. Came out in 2004, and it's like a weird movie where they made it like a fog envelops Central California, and then all of a sudden all of the Mexicans are gone, and what are the poor people going to do? And it's a really cool like kind of view into like what would you do if there was no Mexicans and you lived in California, because holy shit, not much is getting done, let me tell you guys. It's a cool movie. I think you guys should check it out. However, there's no fucking way to check it out. So,
nice streaming rec.
Great streaming rec. Scott,
It's probably somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I can't find it.
Do a little research, you'll find it.
Yeah,
yeah. So I've talked about this numerous times, and if you're talking Fincher, you're talking Pitt, I got to go 7.
Yeah,
it's one of my all time favorite movies. It's easily top 5 movies ever. I watched it twice in the theater, and I'm not a scary horror thriller type of guy necessarily. This movie just really hit me in all the right places. I fucking loved it. And if you like the dark, gritty, crazy ass movie, check out 7. It's on HBO Max right now.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
And Gwyneth.
I'm taking another Edward Norton joint, and that's The Score.
Oh, I love that movie.
Kind of underrated. It's a caper movie, but
you've never seen it?
No, I've never seen it.
Marlon Brando is in it as kind of a really old dude,
and De Niro,
and
slightly less old dude.
So it's like it's a sneaky great cast. It's a fun movie, but it has kind of a slow burn pace. Great payoff.
It's a really good movie.
Really solid. So it's not talked much about.
How many movies is Edward Norton great in? Like a lot.
Every movie he's in.
Yeah, like
really
he's
great.
fucking awesome. We didn't even really talk
Doesn't
about
seem
him. We
like
talked
he's-
a lot about Pitt, but
You know what? I
fuck.
almost
Ed Norton's awesome.
snagged him.
Yeah, dude.
But I went. I decided to go a different way.
Yeah, I mean, because he came out in Primal Fear was his
Yeah.
first fucking
Big
movie.
one. Yep.
And he was fucking great in that. And that was his first movie.
Rounders, American History X, fucking, he's good in tons of
Yeah,
stuff.
he doesn't get talked about much.
Yeah, he's underrated for sure.
My streaming recommendation is going to be I'm going to stick with directors who start off as music video guys. And I'm going to go with Spike Jonze. And this came out 3 years after
Where the Wild
Fight
Things Are?
Club. I'm going to go with Adaptation.
Dude, come on.
Nick Cage as Charlie Kaufman. And if you want to talk about, I mean, Fight Club is definitely like kind of a mindfuck, and Adaptation is just a weird mindfuck on top of mindfuck on top of mindfuck, because it's written by Charlie Kaufman.
I've never seen it.
The main character is Charlie Kaufman, played by Nicolas Cage. And it just, the story is about him trying to write a movie about a real actual book that exists. And it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder.
Sounds very Being John Malkovich.
It's it's in that vein a little bit. So Spike Jonze Adaptation. It's on Hulu. I recommend, if you've never seen it, it is a weird, strange watch, but it's got a little bit of comedy to it. It's Nick Cage being really goofy because he's got a twin brother, and they're like exact opposites. So you get to see Nick Cage kind of playing different roles, and it's wild.
Nick
Check it out.
Cage chops.
Yep.
His twin brother looks like John Travolta.
Face.
Dude, I swear, literally during this podcast, a buddy of mine, Jackson, sent me a meme, and it was like, like Brady Bunch style pictures, and it was like, 1982, whatever. It's all Nick Cage, John Travolta right in the middle.
Yeah, because it's like Nick Cage over the years.
Yeah, over the years, yeah. That's so crazy that happened literally as we're talking tonight.
And on to the next category, Brad. Hit that theme music, kid.
No jet wash for Maverick, Meg still on that goose stick. Iceberg list Titanic, Leo's drawing that nude shit. Jim fucks Nadia like we all thought he should. Ricky and Doughboy get the fuck out the hood. Luke hooks up with Leia just like he's intending. It's time for a reshelf and alternate endings.
So good.
So I'm going to go first because I don't have really a reshelf for an alternate ending, but I think this is one. And there's a couple movies that I think could do this correctly.
Wait,
and
do you want to fuck with the movie song first, the ending song?
Oh, you want to change one of the greatest needle drops in history of film? Okay.
Oh, 100%.
What do you got?
I do.
I think I have one too.
I would love to hear this.
All right, so they're about to watch some buildings fall down.
Okay.
And I just thought, with the whole theme of the movie and anti-capitalism and all this stuff.
Oh, Chumbawamba.
No, what if all of a sudden you hear and the buildings start to come down, and this is so terrible. It's just a stupid joke, but I thought it would be hilarious. And I'm proud to be an American. At least I know I'm free.
Yeah.
A little Lee Greenwood, God bless the USA, as those buildings go down. It would be the worst thing ever. It would be terrible. It would be absolutely in bad taste, but it makes me laugh.
I'm along the same lines there. You're sitting there. You got Marla and Tyler. Well, is his name Tyler? He's actually is Tyler, isn't he? At this point, coming together, and they're in love, and they're seeing all the buildings going boom, and you hear a little boom, boom, boom. Let's go back to my room, and we can do it all night. You can make me feel right. Oh. Anyway, that's how I had to fuck up the end of this movie. And Zach's just looking at it, it's like, fuck you guys.
I really thought Brad was going, I get knocked out, but I get up again.
Chumbawamba would be, that's not a bad one. Oh my God. I think I would have walked out of the theater and just been like, fuck this movie. Holy shit.
All right. So I'm going to go, if we're going to redo this movie, I think that this movie is so visually cool. And I just really like a lot of things about it. But I think this is one that they could do. Do you guys remember a movie called, I know Brad remembers it because I think we talked about it on the pod, but A Scanner Darkly? You remember that like really cool, like kind of animated, like half real. It was like almost like real, like Uncanny Valley, like type animation,
like rotoscope or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So what I dig about this is they do what, like we talked about the plane scene where he talks about the plane crashing and then they show the plane almost crashing and then it comes back to reality or whatever. I think they could have done a lot of that with the narration, a lot of stuff from the book where he's like picturing terrible scenarios and like doing all sorts of different stuff. And if they did it either in like an anime style animation or in like that Scanner Darkly animation, I think they could have just gone on a ton of tangents, really quick cut tangents, and then come back and not spent $20 million or $1 billion or whatever it was. You know what I mean? I think that would have been pretty cool. That's all I got though, because it's one of the best endings in movie history, so I can't really fuck with it too much unless we're gonna make it a alt country hit. I'm not sure about that.
I don't even have an alternate ending. I think I want to kind of just go past these towers start falling down. I mean, he's immediately arrested, right? Like, I mean, depending on how many of their dudes are like
judges, everybody's
FBI,
in.
Like everybody's now like part of this.
Everybody
like,
Fight Clubs.
Because if not everybody's a part of the Fight Club now,
everybody is.
He's immediately like getting arrested. There's no way he does not.
There's no way they keep him in jail.
But there's something we haven't even really talked about.
Break out immediately.
Their master plan is to take out all the credit buildings, whatever.
Right.
Is that really going to do anything? Everything's fucking online and in fucking.
It's 1999 though.
They've got backups of backups and like they've got other server farms and shit at that point.
I mean, if I remember correctly, I think in the book there's like an allusion to like this event kind of takes everything down, and then there's like a flash forward to where like there's vines growing everything, and it's sort of like a Last of Us type future.
Oh, really? Fuck.
Yeah, like yeah.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Okay,
But,
so they blow up more than just credit buildings.
I mean, I think it happens all over the world. They're only watching just those two go down. You know what I mean? They've got fight clubs all over the U.S.
That's true.
So wait, have you got into the fact that he did like a comic book, like Fight Club 2
and 3, I think, but I have not read either.
Okay, I should have read through that before because like it sounds like it might have talked about that shit. But
I don't even know if he was heavily involved with that or what it was, but I have not read either of those, so I can't speak on it intelligently.
I just think he's in prison, and you could say, okay, the prison guards are going to let him out or just give him great treatment. Maybe he's getting the Goodfellas treatment, like he's got the lobster and stuff. But
he's slicing his garlic super thin.
So I don't know, but I feel like he's definitely getting arrested. He doesn't. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Anybody else?
I mean, Fight Club till dawn's too obvious here.
I knew.
Is Marla the head vampire?
Obviously,
yeah, for sure.
I'm with you guys. So that was fun, dude. I like this movie. I really like this movie. I think that was a great discussion. I'm excited about our draft next week.
Oh yeah,
the draft next week's going to be super interesting. Just a quick teaser. We're going to have possibly some of your favorite actors and actresses facing off in a Fight Club style sort of. What would you call it? Melee? Melee?
Kumite.
Oh, a kumite. We're going to have a blood sport style kumite between goddamn, a good draft pick would be the white guy that's Jean-Claude Van Damme's buddy. What's his name?
The big American dude. Yeah, the American dude.
Yeah.
The American.
He looks like he could whoop some ass.
John Matusak or no? Who?
No one knows his name. That's why he won't get picked in the draft.
I don't think he's not a star either. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think, Nate?
I just think I'm ready to fight. You guys ready to go?
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Let's go do something.
Let's end this thing.
We're gonna go out in the backyard and kumite our hearts out.
All of us may or may not be back next week. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe not. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Bye-bye.
I wanna be at Beverly's, bringing me home with my movies. Just a blind ride, no reason why. I love this scene. Nick Nate, I can brag your favorite podcast. Let's start